on to today's speeches for the class of 2025. Our first speaker today is Regan Hughes. Regan will be introduced by Miss Reynolds.
All right. I was a little surprised that Regan asked me to introduce her after last year's Midsummer Fairy song. I'm pretty sure that she hasn't forgiven me for casting her in it, but Regan's also a person who can embrace duality. She tells the best jokes with the perfect deadpan expressions. She speaks in hyperbole about a basic trip to the coffee shop, and she finally gets the freedom to drive only to have a million car issues. I know the last one's irony, but Regan thrives on that too. In all seriousness, when I first met Regan, I thought she'd be reserved around me, but I was happily proven wrong. We quickly bonded while waiting for her ride home after rehearsals, and every week I looked forward to hearing about the drama at her dance studio or her favorite gas station. Regan always makes me laugh, and she makes me feel seen as a person and not just a teacher. She regularly asks me about my weekend, how my kids are doing, and my interests outside of theater. Early on, she told me how much she valued my sister as her 8th grade science teacher, and that meant a lot to me. It's clear that she cares deeply about the people in her life, and that empathy carries over into her artistry. She's an awesome actress, dancer, and writer, frankly, storyteller in any capacity. I'm consistently impressed by her range as a performer. She's convincingly played there's a long list here, a misunderstood dinosaur, cobweb fairy, hesitant mechanical, the man in the moon, a jilted wife, and now a conflicted Meg in our production of Little Women, all within 1 year. She's truly incredible, and I can't wait to see what the rest of her senior year holds. I hope she realizes how much I'm going to miss her once she graduates. So without further ado, Regan Hughes.
Gilmore Girls' Max Medina once said, "All my experiences, even the ones that didn't turn out the way I wanted them to, I firmly believe they were all worth it." This quote struck me when it came time to write my senior speech, probably because I was watching the show as I was writing it. High schoolers can sometimes be plagued with the fear of what could happen. What if they don't like me? What if that one quiz ruins the trajectory of my entire life? This fear haunted me for the longest time, but at the end of the day, I realized that all the worst outcomes would either likely not come to fruition, or they just really were not that bad. As I've endured 18 years of life, and have yet to encounter a time where I've truly entered the worst case scenario, I have hoped that this is true. A lot of people, myself included, tend to avoid the quote worst case scenario, as it could cause them embarrassment or injury. It can be hard putting yourself out there and trying new things, especially when you could fall over and fail. When I was in 6th grade, a classmate of mine had a birthday party at Champs Roller Dome. Although I may have been slightly less afraid of embarrassing myself, I was a little scared as I was not a very experienced skater. When I arrived to the rink and slid the fragrant skates over my fuzzy socks, I began to cautiously wave around the skating rink. After dabbling with skates from the safety of the carpeted floors, I eventually was able to venture out onto the slick hardwood floor. Eventually, I spent the majority of the time holding onto the wall, but eventually my grip began to loosen and I ventured farther and farther from the patterned walls. Soon it came time to go to the center of the rink to test my skills. With a newly inflated ego and a head held high, I was skating at the speed of light, until suddenly I wasn't anymore. My teary face was flat on the floor and my right arm was surely broken. I was humbled that day, to say the least. The break and the fall may have been close to the worst case scenario, but I was eventually able to heal and move on, even though it was incredibly embarrassing and painful at the time. I live to tell the tale, and I no longer care, and I doubt anyone else does either. About 4 years later, during December of my sophomore year, my dance studio had its holiday show where I'd be performing in 2 dances that I worked tirelessly on. I spent months rehearsing for the first dance and felt rather confident in it, but I was added to the last dance, the finale, more last minute. The lack of preparation caused me to spend the days leading up to the show frittering over the fear that I would fail. The day eventually came and the hours slowly ticked away. My first dance passed the sound of nutcracker music that still raises my heart rate to this day, and the second one I so feared approached rapidly. It soon came time to put on my sequin costume, and eventually I found myself standing behind the wings the number before, and seconds later, I found my legs sashaying onto stage. About 30 seconds into the dance, I realized my legs were, in fact, no longer under me, and I was on my way down. I crashed face down on stage after a pirouette gone wrong, embarrassed beyond belief, in front of a stage with everyone I cared about watching. I had no choice but to swallow my shame and move on. Although some may consider my tumble a failure, and this performance made me question my future in dancing altogether, I still decided to move forward with it. If I had made the choice to find a sport or hobby I was better at, but not passionate about, I would not have the skills I have developed in dance since this incident. The experience also taught me that although I may have feared the fall, everything ended up being all right in the end. Although I may have been embarrassed at the moment, I was able to not only learn from the experience, but embrace it. As cheesy as it may sound, my embarrassing moment taught me to understand that the worst outcome is really not that bad. I was able to get back up and carry on with the show, and when the time came to relay the information to my friends and family, they were all completely unaware that anything ever happened. My final fall is less comical than its predecessors. The future. With the passing of my 18th birthday, and my final year in the place I have thought of as a second home, already a quarter over, I began to panic. The vague and threatening future of my life seems to sit in a well-guarded place just out of my sight, and the lack of knowledge I have about it caused me to fall into a spiral. What if I do not end up in a place that I like? What if I go out into the real world and fall flat on my face like I did sophomore year? While the people sitting towards the back of the room may not understand the bittersweet feeling of embarking on the rest of your life while mourning the life you have lived up to this point, I am sure that the fear of the unknown is not completely unfamiliar. The prospect of a poor grade you are itching to know, a cast list you are anxiously awaiting, rightfully inspire the same fear. When I begin to face fear over the things I cannot control, I ask myself, what is the worst possible outcome? I could fall down a well, or maybe fall off a cliff. I take that, and then I dial it back, as I tend not to hang out around wells nor cliffs, and I get a slightly more logical answer. Like, I could fall face down on a stage in front of everyone I care about. After this, I ask myself how bad that would actually be. I strongly doubt anyone would think about it for more than a second, or that I would sustain any real injury. It is important to familiarize yourself with the worst possible outcome, no matter how uncomfortable it may feel. As I stated earlier, it is very possible that you will fall flat on your face, or your teacher will take your roll away and give you a 0. But what will you think of that in 4 years? It is also helpful to be reminded that every time I quite literally fell, I was able to catch myself and get back up. All of my injuries, physical, egotistical, and emotional, have eventually healed or resolved themselves. Even if I may have broken a few bones in my arm or taken a very public tumble, these experiences have shaped me into the person I am today. For me, all my experiences, even the ones that didn't turn out the way I wanted them to, I firmly believe they made for a great senior speech. Thank you.
Our second speaker today is Piper Walden. Piper will be introduced by Mr. Lerner.
Collegiate parents, faculty, and student body, I am honored and humbled to introduce Piper Walden, one of the most extraordinary talents to have played the violin on this stage. Piper has participated in our collegiate strings ensemble since she arrived at collegiate in the 7th grade. And I still remember the piece her class played when she was in the 8th grade, all those years ago. Danny Rocks. Another parental unit expressed their opinion that that particular 8th grade could be the best 8th grade to ever give a performance. Piper helped lead that group. Piper participated in multiple Kentucky Music Educator Association solo contests and always received the Gold Medal Distinguished Award. Piper continued playing for us throughout high school, and for 3 straight years, she auditioned and gained acceptance into the All-State Orchestra. In the next few weeks, she will be able to make it number 4. No pressure. Piper prioritized the violin in her life and has spent countless hours perfecting an instrument that cannot be perfected. But there can be an ulterior motive as to why Piper learned to play the violin, joined my class, and worked hard all these years. I think she did it for the candy, the cookies, the donuts, and the junk food. I think Piper may play it off, saying she loves to play the violin in my class, or she just can't wait for the next food on Friday to see what the 9th graders bring to share. I think Piper may play it off, saying she loves to play the violin in my class, or she just loves Oreos. Double stuff, triple stuff, golden, chocolate, mint, red, velvet, cherry Coke, and Sour Patch. Piper does not discriminate. I think Piper may play it off, saying she loves to play the violin in my class, or she just loves candy. Chocolate, chewy, tangy, sour, hard, jelly beans, fruit snacks, or licorice. I think Piper may play it off, saying she loves to play the violin in my class, or she just loves the donuts. Plains, Dunkin', Nord's, Jeff's, Kroger, or even Walmart. I know she invades my candy stash hidden in my cubbies and has indulged in pounds of it over the years. Next year, when Piper is gone, I will not feel the need to replenish my candy the way I have for the past 5 years. Piper, I may save some candy money next year, but I will miss you and your beautiful talent for the violin. Collegiate community, Piper Walden.
Good morning. I'm not the kind of person who reaches out to friends on the weekends to make plans. No, it's not because I'm just inconsiderate and mean, but because I'd rather just be by myself. I'd rather watch TV alone, draw alone, and just be in the comfort of myself. But to be clear, I do have friends, hopefully. I care a lot about my friends, even though a lot of the time I'd rather be alone. The last thing I expected myself to do was to come up here and talk about friendship. But I'm gonna start way back when I met my best friend Zoe in kindergarten. Zoe was the shortest kid I've ever seen in my age group. I was short too, but the fact that she was way shorter was funny to me. I don't even know if you can see her, but it's okay. And so started our bond. Growing up, we were always the kids the teachers had to separate because we were so disruptive to others' learning by laughing and talking nonstop. I was always very quiet and to myself, but when Zoe was in my class, I was an entirely new person, for better or for worse, as some people might say based off of what we do together. Zoe and I are spontaneous together, but not the spontaneous that people who try to be the main character want to be. We were the thoughtless, destructive, but always laughing sort of spontaneous. Let me tell you all some stories to let you in on our friendship dynamic. We went through a phase together where honestly we should have been stopped, and I don't know how we weren't, but that's probably because nobody knew. But anyway. About 4 years ago, I went over to Zoe's house to have a sleepover. Sleepovers always lead to funny moments, but this one was outrageous. You ever hear little girls saying they wish they were sisters with their best friends? That was us at the time, and even now, to be honest, but we felt like we had to make it come true. As we both had some health issues, we brought home souvenirs from the doctor's office that could aid us in this procedure. We departed slowly to get our devices. A finger pricker and an empty growth hormone shot that Zoe had on hand to help her grow taller. I pricked my finger and let the blood pool on top. At the time, Zoe took her empty syringe and poked several holes in her leg. This was an at-home blood transfusion. The plan was for me to wipe the blood over the small wounds she had created in hopes we would now be blood related. To say this was not only dumb, but very dangerous is an understatement. But it was the funniest time I've ever had. Moving forward to when we were 15, I was teaching Zoe how to ride a bike. Yes, I know she was 15, but that's besides the point. She took to the road pretty well, and I thought I did too since I had been comfortable on a bike for years. However, riding my bike with her made me realize how easily I forget to do something so simple. Pulling out of her garage was the hardest part. Straight ahead, there was a grill surrounded by bricks. We were wobbly and spastic with our turns as we tried to avoid crashing into it. We hit almost every single fence and tree, even close to the sidewalk. Zoe hit around 4 parked cars within the next hour. People on the sidewalk were afraid of us because when someone was walking, we'd get out of control and swerve off the curb into the street. Once, she crashed into someone's porch that was sticking out into the sidewalk. When she plummeted to the concrete, I laughed so hard I crashed into the same porch and got stuck in the people's bushes. We never got better at riding bikes together, but at least we were together. We were having fun without putting in any effort. We came home with a lot of injuries, but it was worth it. The same day, we decided to take on a little challenge. Firstly, I would like to say I'm very allergic to cats, and Zoe has 2 very fluffy cats. When you have cats, you obviously have to feed them, so she had both dry and wet cat food. We decided that we needed to try both the wet and dry cat food for ourselves to see which we preferred. I don't know why we even wanted to know which one we preferred. Her cats stood there internally laughing at us as we didn't even hesitate with the idea to try the food. We dug our hands into the dry food bag and took out 2 handfuls, one for me and one for her. Opening the silverware drawer in the kitchen, we pulled out only 1 spoon and scooped up a significant amount of wet cat food. Then we ate them both. Surprisingly, the wet cat food was significantly better than the dry cat food, and we decided to use that as our subject for the challenge. Zoe and I ate at least a little bit of wet cat food with every meal for a week. All because we thought it would be funny. It was amusing, but that was outlandish thinking about it now. These are not even half the things we've done together that I know our parents sitting in front of me have never heard. But I wouldn't have wanted to crash my bike, try cat food, and attempt to become blood sisters with anyone else. Zoe, you have become a strong source of happiness and enjoyment for my whole life. Sorry. I will never regret spending time with you because no matter how long we go without talking, since we go to different schools, it all feels so natural. I believe that I was meant to meet you, and I don't know who I would be without a friend like you in my life. So I urge you all, even if you'd rather stay at home, and drink hot chocolate while watching Gilmore Girls and brush through your hair every 20 minutes like I happen to do almost every day after school. Go out and spend time with the friends that you have and value in your life. Don't be afraid to do fun and crazy things together, and remember the things you experience with your friends will stay with you forever. Jump out of the comfort zone of yourself to enjoy your time with friends who make you a better version of yourself. Find you a Zoe and hold on to her until the local prison is the only thing keeping you apart. Thank you.
Our third speaker today is Wolfe. Liv will be introduced by family friend and mentor, Matt Curran.
Okay. I'll apologize in advance. In preparing for my introduction, I didn't anticipate Piper making me cry. So it's my honor and privilege to introduce a truly remarkable student who has certainly made the most of their time at Louisville Collegiate, growing both academically and personally. Olivia Starr Wolfe, or Liv to her family and friends, is a senior who has shown tremendous personal fortitude through her strong coursework, her school leadership, and special creativity. During her final year at Collegiate, Liv has demonstrated her expertise at being a senior by maintaining her 4.0 GPA, participating in the school senate, being president of GSA, the newspaper club, the National English Honor Society, acting as editor for the Muse, writer for the Broadcasting Club, consultant for the Center for Writing, and those were just her main activities. Outside of class, Liv always shows a quirky creativity and a curiosity that has endeared her to her friends and family who seem to be cut from the same cloth. I know we share immense pride in Liv and are excited for her journey beyond collegiate. I have no doubt she will continue to pursue life with vigor and resilience as she continues to study and promote mental health awareness at what we're all hoping Berea College. Please join me in welcoming and celebrating Liv Wolfe.
Good morning. Douglas Kent Wolfe. Who else could I write a speech about other than my 81-year-old grandfather, who's been there for me my entire life? Through thick and through thin, this man has lived through it all, been everything a person could be, been called every title a person can have. So what else could I do besides brag about my grandpa, Douglas Kent Wolfe? Whether it's traveling through Mexico playing folk music with his friend, or being able to name every butterfly he sees, my grandpa is truly a special soul. Actor Douglas Kent Wolfe. My grandfather has always been my greatest source of inspiration. He's been involved in acting for as long as I can remember, bringing characters to life on stage with a passion that captivated everyone around him. However, I was too young to experience his abilities to the fullest. When he was younger, he was involved in Shakespeare's theater here in Louisville, where he found his passion for acting, then moving to New York to pursue this dream. He's been in all sorts of shows, from The Man Who Came to Dinner, his senior class play, to A Christmas Carol, to How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, where he won the Actor of the Year award for his theater guild. He's also acted in smaller projects, such as a music video you can find on YouTube. He's done it all. Of course, most of this happened when I wasn't born yet, but one of my greatest memories was going to see a play my grandpa was in when I was little. To me, that was the coolest thing ever. Watching him immerse himself in roles, transforming into entirely different people, sparked something inside of me from an early age. I too did acting for a while, and following in my grandpa's footsteps, played lead roles in characters that I really enjoyed. His dedication to his craft and his boundless creativity have always encouraged me to tap into my own artistic instincts. I can't help but feel that the creativity I possess today is a direct gift from him, passed down through countless stories, performances, and quiet moments spent together. Teacher, actor Douglas Kent Wolfe. My grandfather has always been a source of wisdom and inspiration in my life. Not just because he's family, but because he was a teacher who carried a deep passion for learning. He taught English for 11 years down in Florida, but also here in Louisville, where he taught at Atherton. His classroom was a place where knowledge met patience, and his students, like me, have always been fortunate enough to experience that firsthand. His dedication to education shaped the way I see the world, and I believe that my intelligence is a direct reflection of his influence. English is one of my greatest passions. Being able to write words like paint on paper, where my creativity flows, is one of my favorite things. I get this passion from him, and so I'm able to do such things as be in the center of writing here at school or write a novella for my capstone project. Whether he was explaining complex ideas or sharing life's simplest truths, his ability to make things clear and accessible is something I strive to emulate. Golfer, teacher, actor Douglas Kent Wolfe. My grandfather has always been my source of strength, both on and off the golf course. A lifelong golfer, he approaches the game with the same grace, patience, and determination that he brings to life. He signed me up for many a clinic when I was little, and teams and tournaments now that I'm older. I played golf for 10 to 11 years thanks to this guy, and every day I'd say I'm even getting better than him. Every time we go out, he always gives me pointers to improve my swing, and even in tournaments, he would give me hints as I would yell at him not to so I wouldn't get disqualified. Watching him, I've learned that success isn't just about talent, but also about persistence and resilience. He never gives up, even when the course seems unforgiving, reminding me that life, like golf, requires focus and endurance. His unwavering spirit has shaped me, teaching me that strength comes from not avoiding challenges, but from facing them head on, just like he does with every swing. Colonel, teacher, actor Douglas Kent Wolfe. My grandfather, a man of unwavering principles and quiet dignity, was bestowed the honorary title of colonel by our state governor, a recognition of his lifelong commitment to service and leadership in our community. One of his good friends, Ken, nominated him, and he was chosen. Above everyone else, my grandpa was the most honorable. Though not a military officer like the name colonel would imply, he carried himself with the same discipline and honor one might expect from a career soldier. His legacy of integrity, respect, and dedication to others is where I draw my own sense of honor. Lord, Colonel, teacher, actor Douglas Kent Wolfe. My grandfather, a Lord of Scotland, has always been the cornerstone of our family's honor and respectability. For his birthday one year, we'd never know what to get him, so we decided on a small plot of land in Scotland. And because of purchasing this parcel of land from the current owner, he had the title bestowed down to him, titling my grandfather as Lord. And while he's not a real lord living his life out in Scotland, I think my grandpa is the best candidate. Like a proper lord, my grandfather holds the highest respectability and properness, and I believe it is from him that I get this virtue. He is a man of many names and many titles, and through these titles, I've learned so many things. Treasure the stories of your elders. It's important to know where you come from and who your virtues attribute to. I wouldn't be who I am if it weren't for my grandfather's stories and guidance, and I'm sure we all have people in our lives to shape us the same way. Creativity, wisdom, strength, honor, and respectability all come together in Lord, Colonel, teacher, actor Douglas Kent Wolfe. And while he goes by so many names, to me, he will always has one. Papa. Thank you.